Most people don't realize they're stuck. You wake up at 6:45, you make coffee, you check your phone, you drive the same route to work, you complain about traffic, you sit at the same desk, you get your paycheck on the same day every month. Nothing is on fire. The bills are paid. The fridge has food in it. Maybe you even put a little into savings. From the outside, your life looks fine. So why does it sometimes feel like you're slowly suffocating? Why does stability feel strangely heavy? That's the comfort trap. And it's one of the most misunderstood financial problems people face in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. We're told that stability is the goal. Get a steady job, lock in predictable income, buy the house, set up automatic payments, avoid risk, be responsible. And to be clear, stability is not bad. In fact, it's essential in the beginning. It gives you breathing room. It protects you from chaos. But what no one tells you is that stability has a shadow side. Because comfort, when left unchecked, quietly turns into stagnation. Most people think being stuck means something dramatic. Crushing debt, constant emergencies, no job, no savings. But that's not how being stuck usually feels. Being stuck often feels safe. It feels like saying, I can't complain. It feels like telling yourself, at least I have a job. It feels like staying in a role you've outgrown because the paycheck arrives on time. The problem isn't that you're irresponsible. The problem is that your brain is wired to protect what feels safe. Psychologically, stability reduces anxiety. Predictability lowers stress hormones. When income is consistent and life is manageable, your nervous system relaxes. And that feels good. So when an opportunity shows up that disrupts that comfort, starting a side project, negotiating your salary, changing careers, investing in something new, your brain doesn't evaluate it logically first. It evaluates it emotionally. And emotionally, change feels dangerous. Even if logically, staying the same is costing you years of growth. Here's where it gets interesting. Let's say you earn enough to cover rent, food, utilities, and some small extras. Maybe you save a few hundred a month. Nothing dramatic, but enough to feel like you're doing okay. That word, okay, is powerful because okay removes urgency. You're not in pain. You're not desperate. So there's no immediate reason to push harder, learn new skills, take calculated risks, or rethink your financial structure. And over time, okay becomes your identity. You stop asking what's possible and start asking what's safe. I've seen this happen to people who are intelligent, capable, and ambitious. They start their careers hungry. They want growth. They want options. Then a stable salary arrives, maybe benefits, maybe a mortgage, maybe a car payment. Now, their monthly obligations rise to match their stable income. This is where the trap tightens, because once your fixed expenses depend on your current income, that income becomes untouchable. Your lifestyle quietly handcuffs your freedom. You're not trapped by debt in a dramatic way. You're trapped by responsibility. There's a difference. Imagine someone earning $70,000 a year. They live in an apartment that fits that income. They drive a car financed at a comfortable monthly payment. They take modest vacations. They feel responsible. Now imagine they're offered a chance to switch fields. Maybe it requires a year of lower income. Maybe it requires going back to school part-time. Maybe it means freelancing before stable contracts come in. On paper, the long-term upside could be higher. More income, more control, more fulfillment. But in the short term, it threatens stability. And the brain hates short-term instability more than it values long-term growth. So they say no, not because they're incapable, but because their current comfort feels safer than future possibility. Let's say someone stays in a stable job with 2% annual raises. On $70,000, that's $1,400 more per year before taxes. It feels like progress. Slow, steady progress. but inflation averages around 2 to 3% long term. Some years higher. So that raise might just be maintaining purchasing power. You feel stable, but you're not really moving forward. And because there's no crisis, there's no catalyst. Years pass. Comfort becomes routine. Routine becomes identity. There's another psychological force at play here called loss aversion. Humans feel the pain of loss roughly twice as strongly as the pleasure of gain. So the idea of losing your steady paycheck for 6 months feels terrifying, even if the potential gain over 10 years is significant. Your brain whispers, what if it doesn't work? It rarely whispers, what if staying here costs you more? That's the comfort trap. It doesn't scream, it whispers. The turning point for most people doesn't come from hitting rock bottom. It comes from quiet realization. One day, you look up and realize 5 years passed. You're earning a bit more, you're older, your responsibilities are heavier, but your options aren't much broader. That realization can feel uncomfortable, but it's also freeing because it shifts the question from how do I stay safe to what am I optimizing for? Are you optimizing for short-term predictability or long-term flexibility? There's a difference. Predictability means you know what next month looks like. Flexibility means you have choices. Real wealth isn't just income, it's optionality. It's the ability to step back, to pivot, to say no, to take a risk without everything collapsing. Sometimes you have to introduce small, controlled discomfort to build real stability later. That might mean living slightly below what your salary allows instead of exactly at it. It might mean keeping your fixed expenses lower than your peers, even if you could afford more. It might mean building an emergency fund that feels excessive. It might mean investing consistently even when markets feel uncertain. These aren't dramatic moves, they're quiet ones. But they create a cushion, and a cushion changes psychology. Choosing stability is strength. Clinging to it is fear. So how do you avoid the comfort trap without blowing up your life? You don't need to quit your job tomorrow. You don't need to invest in something you don't understand. You don't need to take reckless risks. You start by auditing your comfort. Ask yourself honestly, if nothing changed for the next 5 years, would I be satisfied? Not comfortable. Satisfied. If the answer is no, then something needs to shift. You introduce growth inside stability. Instead of asking, how do I feel safe? Ask, how do I expand my options? Options reduce anxiety more than comfort ever will, because comfort is fragile. Options are resilient. If you feel stuck right now, it doesn't mean you've failed. It probably means you did exactly what you were taught. Be responsible. Be stable. Avoid risk. You followed the script. Now you're just realizing the script has limits. Comfort isn't the enemy. Unquestioned comfort is. The goal isn't chaos, it's conscious stability. If you take anything from this, let it be this. Stability should be a foundation, not a cage. And steady progress, even when it feels small, always beats standing still.